January 19th, 2025, Dennis John, Sytsma Productions, Homestead, Florida, USA. January 25th, 2025. This video is about my 1989 boat, 3.7 liter Mercruiser. Going to be using the Schumacher BT 453 battery load tester. And if we need it, we have the Schumacher power station. And you can buy this at Lowe or online or what have you. This model number, I think, is, well, let's see, what is the model number? Yeah, model SJ1332. And no, this is not an advertisement for Schumacher, but the electrical system is really fragile on this for 3.7 liter Mercruiser engine made from 1976 to 1989. The OEM factory electrical system, I could be mistaken, I believe it had a clamping type regulator, and it failed all the time. The original type was air cooled, and it was on this side of the engine, and then they went later to air water cooled, and then increased it from 5/8 to 3/4. So I'm going to run this engine today, but like I tell everybody, before you try to start your engine, make sure your electric system isn't shorted out with a bad battery. So I suggest and highly recommend you do an equalizing charge first with a model SC1280 Schumacher battery tester. Now the modern testers can test multiple type batteries and will tell you if there's anything wrong with the battery before you even attempt to start, because you could burn out the regulator, rectifier regulator. An aftermarket one came out by CDI Electronics, Huntsville, Alabama, that is more efficient, uses a switching type regulator, and that's what I have on this engine for many years now. Very happy with it. There's also an aftermarket one-wire alternator kit done by Breezeworks Marine, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Florida, breezeworks.net, and we'll talk about the kits at a later date. But I'm going to check the electrical system out and start and run this engine. Been a while. The choke on it's set to full open. I leave it that way because it's too fiddly here in southeast Florida, and we're expecting a cold front. So we'll see how it starts with a cold engine versus today when it's 80 degrees. January 19th, 2025, and it's over 80 degrees right now. Thanks for watching. Okay, with the BT 453 connected to battery number 1, and I have a switch. I go battery 1, battery 2, or off, or both, and I mark them by where I bought them and the date. And I use this load tester. Now this is only 135 amp, excuse me, 135 amp, and this engine requires 450 cold cranking amps. But the main thing is with the battery, the voltage will go down. It's at 14 now. Go down and then come back up if it's good. If it's a good, and I use flooded cell batteries because yes, you can go with, and the main thing is that it heats up real good in the back. Flooded cell batteries I go with because you can get a 1000 amp group 27 or group 24 1000 amp battery for 110 bucks, something like that now in 2025 with this economy we got. And sometimes people go with absorbed glass matte batteries, and that's fine, but I can't see spending $400 or $500 when a flooded cell battery does the job quite nicely. Now I've got these two negatives connected together with a strap, so I can go from battery to battery. And now test this one with the toaster, and we're at 14 volts. 14 volts. Let's see it go down. Should come back up again if it's a good battery, or at least hold. Okay, and it's red hot, so both batteries are good. with that, I'm confident I can attempt to start this engine without doing harm to the electrical system. So now that I've done an equalizing charge and tested them as best I can, I can turn this from the battery 1 to both and turn the water on to the muffs and attempt to start. So you run the engine, the blower, for 5 minutes. Smell around there, make sure there's no fumes to avoid explosions, disaster, fire, in case you got a gas leak or something you don't know about. And I've got the Commander, Quicksilver Commander 4000 Generation 2 control and cables I had professionally installed, and I just ordered a new lanyard. So if this switch is working, as soon as you turn the key you should get voltage, and that's the, if you exercise the switch you'll lose voltage, and so that shows me the kill switch is functional, and the low oil pressure horn is working. And I have to pause the camera for a minute. I'm going to put this in, hit the center button and goose it with a couple of shots of gas before I attempt to start, because the choke is fully open. We're expecting a cold front tonight. Okay, it's been some time since this engine has run, so it might be cold-natured initially, but I'm in Homestead, Florida, south of Miami, north of Key Largo. Dennis John Sytsma Productions, January 19th, 2025. Okay, give it a few more shots of gas. The accelerator pump. Make sure I got good oil pressure. Yeah, it's around 60. Now it's real important before you attempt to start. Check the oil. Make sure you have enough. I didn't do it this time, my bad, but I got oil pressure, so I know I go to oil. I like to change the oil every year, whether it needs it or not. The same thing with the coolant. And this got power steering. Power steering fluid's good, and you should check the coolant level. Make sure we got coolant, and we do. And it's been months since it ran, so it started pretty well. But I want to demonstrate the shift. I had all Generation 2 shift cables done and installed professionally by a shop. I'm not a professional marine technician. I just like to do my own work as much as I can. Okay, give it some more shots of gas. It's real cold nature. I may have to warm it up before I can demonstrate the shift. A lot of people have problems with easy shift, and that noise you hear I think is a gimbal bearing that needs replacement. Okay, it seems to be idling, so alright, idle's okay. Let's see what happens when I put it in gear. Okay, shift in forward real nice. Now, every time you run it, you lubricate it, and you want to put it into gear, and you want to move the steering left and right. Make sure nothing's frozen. And then back to idle. And then back to reverse. That noise will go away after a little while, but I need to pull the drive and check that gimbal bearing. I've changed the boots on this myself, and the shop said I did a lousy job, but if there's any leakage on the U-joint bellows, it'll get in there and ruin your brand new gimbal bearing. But anyway, I think I've demonstrated here that it starts and shifts. And now a friend of mine reported a problem. He bought a reman engine and a new drive. Still can't get the easy shift right, so I'm gonna have to go help him. He's up near Tallahassee. And then of course exercise the up down. Up, down. Let's see, I forget some way to bypass the up. I forget what it is. Wait a minute. It goes one way but not the other. Those solenoids get sticky, sometimes need replacement, the up and down solenoid on the hydraulic ram. So that's the evaluation for right now, and it might rain soon and it's getting warmer, so that's all I'm going to do for right now. And when it gets cold, when that cold front comes through, I'll run it some more under cold temps and make sure it responds well. Anyway, Dennis John Sytsma Productions, Homestead, Florida, USA. 3.7 liter Mercruiser that I've owned since new. Had it rebuilt once when I messed up. I didn't replace the seawater elbow every year like I should, or every 5 years I should say, and change the gasket every year, and have the drive serviced every year. I didn't do those things, and something went south, had a coolant leak, and it bent the #1 rod with hydro lock, and showed up many years later. It showed up as rod knock on #1. So even with a bent rod, this thing's pretty durable. So we can turn off the, let's see, turn off the blower, and I don't know, try to start it one more time, see what happens. Start right up in neutral. Nice idle. The idle mixture screw you want to set with the boat in the water, and a lot of these adjustments you want to do in the boat in the water for optimum results. You could do things in the shop or on muffs, but final adjustments ought to be done on the water, away from other craft and docks in case something sticks and you don't want to run into anybody. So, and I got to go through all the safety equipment before the next sea trial on this. Maybe a while for a sea trial. Haven't had this boat in the water in a long time, but I run it on muffs as often as I can. The voltage is good. That CDI electronics regulator rectifier is hanging in there so far. I talked to the guy that founded this company, and he told me about this and how he did an improved it's identical to the OEM, so you'd have to have a CDI sticker on it to know the difference. And of course Kevin at Breezeworks, a lot of people like his one-wire alternator kit. Got a good idle. Let's see if it goes into gear without killing out. Yep, shifted okay. And people always ask me about the exhaust water. Hope I don't slip and fall. I'm gonna keep the camera on. Gotta be real careful. Oh, slip easy. Just gotta make sure the muffs didn't slip off. And I like this kind of muff. Gives me better coverage. But the impeller might have failed. I don't see any water coming out. But there's more water on one side than the other because it's a 4-cylinder. And I got to pull this drive off and service the impeller anyway. Been planning on doing it for some time now. Yeah, looks like the impeller's failed, otherwise water would be coming out. Oh, now it's starting to come. I might not torturing that impeller I got. It's been years since I changed the impeller, and the impeller and housing needs to be changed every year. They don't have a long service life. And the same thing with the water shutter. It needs to be done once a year when you pull off the seawater elbow to replace that gasket. And if you don't replace the gasket, you may suffer failure of the exhaust manifold, which is aluminum. Dissimilar metals and corrosion sets up, so change that gasket, inspect the water shutter annually. So, but without any water coming out, I would expect this to be overheating, but it's not, at least not on the gauge. And this has dual sensors. It has a sensor for the gauge and a sensor for the horn. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. But obviously I want everything to be according to Hoyle before you ever attempt to put it in the water. Okay, kill that. I don't know, it goes one way and not the other. I thought I heard a grunt there. Okay. Bow up, bow down. Yep. These hydraulic rams, the pump needs to be taken out of the boat and worked on the bench from time to time and tested. So, give me a thumbs up if you liked anything in this video. This is not intended to be instructional, it's just a documentary about my old powerboat. Hello, audience. This is Dennis Sytsma, Dennis John Sytsma Productions, Homestead, Florida, USA. Oh, I greatly appreciate all the thumbs up and all the kind words and comments people are posting on this channel, and also on my social media groups for the General Motors 4L60E transmission and my playlist for this boat project. But as you know from yesterday's video, today is January 20th, 2025. January 20th, 2025. I'm in Homestead, Florida in the Redland Farm area. And it's Redland, L-A-N-D, not Redlands. So, yesterday I ran the boat engine, and I noticed two problems here. I couldn't get the up to work on this hydraulic pump, which is common to most all of the Mercruiser stern drives use the same pump. And the output is like 600 psi on the up and 600 psi on the down. And I use power steering fluid, but you can use motor oil or automatic transmission fluid. Anyway, the down worked real good and jammed the drive into the coral rock here. That's why they call it Redlands. It's got a high iron content and it's coral rock. So it's red. Anyway, I've had this problem before. It's usually a solenoid that's a very easy thing to replace, but I don't know yet. I have to do some troubleshooting. And these videos are not intended to be instructional, but they can be. Do-it-yourself work can be dangerous. Death or injury can result, so do at your own risk. But these are not. These are video documentaries about my boat. That's all. I'm not telling you the way to do it on the correct way or the right way, the wrong way. I'm just telling you how Dennis does it. Dennis Sytsma. And I'm getting a lot of fans now on the different groups, especially the transmission group. It seems to be real popular, the 4L60E. General Motors made millions of them in like 3 generations of the transmission that I know about. And it's a preferred transmission for racing now that they came out with all these new products that introduce Kevlar and special materials. You can actually upgrade a 200 horsepower transmission that was designed to push around a lightweight, 1-ton truck, and upgrade it to the big engines, the big motors that they sell now, the crate engines. and I don't know the names of them all. LS3, LS11, I don't know. But it can handle up to 700 horsepower, they say, working horsepower. Whatever that is. I'm not a transmission guy, I don't know. But anyway, up and down. Down is working, not up. So if you swap the lines, which I plan to do, I'll make it go up so I can remove the drive. But before I remove the drive, I want to make sure I really have to. So I'm going to run the engine again when it's not raining. It's been raining all day today, which is great for the tropical fruit trees. It's been very dry here in Redland. Anyway, 7/16 inch wrench to get the fittings off, and you can put a tester on there for 600 psi when I get the up working. For now, I'm going to use the down to make it go up. And I think that's enough yakking for this segment. I appreciate the audience's participation by thumbs up or posting comments. And if you want my private email, you can direct message me on Facebook and get that, and we can collaborate further in private. As I always say, if you want to support my efforts, you can either PayPal me directly, but that's not as important as you can buy my fruit from Brooks Tropicals online or MiamiFruit.org online. And Miami Fruit ships all over the world, and Brooks sells commercially to the big grocery stores. So, I'm going to do that. Now I'm going to be moving quickly to different projects as weather permits, working on this boat, which is my 1989 Success 200. I've removed all of the wood cores. Almost all the wood has been removed from this boat and replaced with Divinycell and Clegicell, and so it's a very durable boat, and I've replaced the gauges and most of the wiring with marine grade wire. This is a very nice boat. I like it a lot. My father bought it in 1989, and I acquired it over the years. But I wanted it to be durable, and all the wood has been removed, little at a time over the years. But I'll be moving from this project to my Craftsman GT 5000 tractor that doesn't run properly. I don't know what the hell's wrong with it. I've tried several different things to no avail. Replace the carburetor, replace the ignition. It's got I don't know what's wrong with it. I got to ferret that out. I have to figure it out. I don't know. What's a better expression, ferret or figure? I have to study it. And of course my other projects are my other vehicles. 2005 Honda Civic, 2007 Honda Civic. I got a PA50 moped that's interesting, and my 1994 Chevy Astrovan. And I'll be working more towards aesthetics on both the boat and the van. I'm trying to find a body shop to help me, but I'm probably going to have to pull that windshield and do the body work myself. It's got a remanufactured engine in it from Powertrain Products. The 4L60E transmission that's in it is not working perfectly. It's slipping in reverse until it catches, and in forward it seems to be working fine. So maybe just some more miles on it. And I'll be working on the Kelsey Hayes 4WAL ABS soon. That's my plan, at least, weather permitting. They say we're getting a cold front. It's about 60 degrees now outdoors, and it's been rainy all morning. And they say we're getting a deep freeze here in southeast Florida. We're south of Miami, north of Key Largo. And when that occurs, they're expecting more rain. So it's going to be a rainy, windy week, I guess. So, appreciate you all watching. Dennis Sytsma, Dennis John Sytsma Productions, Homestead, Florida, U.S. Go on my Facebook page and direct message me, and I'll give you my email, and we'll collaborate more if necessary. Or Public posts are actually better on the Facebook groups that I am founder and administrator for. And like I say, not intended to be instructional, but it might be. Thanks for watching. Dennis Sytsma, Dennis John Sytsma Productions, Homestead, Florida, USA. Dennis Sytsma, Dennis John Sytsma Productions, Homestead, Florida, USA, January 21st, 2025. Subject to this video is my Baretta Success 200 powerboat that my family has had since it was new in 1989, and I'm looking for the Baretta logo. If anybody in the audience knows where I can have these fabricated to my specs, these placards. I guess I don't have a good one anymore, Baretta. So anyway, post a comment. Now, a common failure on these hydraulic pumps is the ram limit switch goes open circuit, as it should when we hit the limit, but that prevents the pump from working, and it looks like a failed solenoid. Now, the ram limit switch is on the port side of the Alpha 1 Gen 1 stern drive, and you adjust it to go open circuit. It's there. It goes open circuit when the upper limit of the ram is reached, and it has bullet connectors that corrode and go open, so it's a common failure for you to have to reseat find the wires back here in that mess and reseat the bullet connector so the hydraulic pump can lift the stern drive again, or lift her. It seemed like it wants to go down but not up. Now, as you notice, I fabricated a perch to put this up higher, because when I'm fishing for mahi-mahi in the Florida Keys, the brine comes back here and will flood this area. So I got the pump up high as I could, but yet really get it up not too high for service work. But with a couple of screws at the bottom of this stainless steel bracket that holds the hydraulic pump, I can have it on the workbench and work on it in a civil manner. And I'm having a lot of trouble with the hydraulic pump. I may need to either buy a new one or do a cleaning, get all the fluid out and clean it real good with mineral spirits, and then put it back. That's what I usually use, is mineral spirits. But it has a 3-pin connector there on the side, you see, if you look carefully, and with a jumper wire and a test light, you can find the hot pin and then put power to bypass everything and see if everything works on the bump itself and save yourself a lot of time. So I'm going to do that next. I'll pull that connector loose, and then we'll fabricate a jumper, or maybe I'll just stick a wire in there. I haven't done this a while, so it'll be as we go. We'll figure it out. And these connectors, of course, are 7/16 for the hydraulic lines, and I can't remember which is up or down, the white and the black, which one is up. And I got some notes on my computer somewhere, but I can't find them right now. But it's a pretty day here in Redland, and my lychee trees are going crazy, and we're in full bloom on the mangoes, as you see, and the avocados are beginning to bud and bloom. And you know, of course, your production rate depends on the winds later in this year. If you have high winds in March and April, you'll lose a lot of production. The bloom will blow off the trees. So the farmer goes year to year at the whim of nature. So that said, we'll carry on with the Baretta boat project here in a minute. or after a cup of coffee. These videos are not intended to be instructional. They're a video diary, a video documentary, as it were. Dennis Sytsma, Dennis John Sytsma Productions, Homestead, Florida, USA. Do-it-yourself work can result in death or injury, so do at your own risk. And I'm admiring my own work here on the bracket. I replaced the aluminum bracket with a stainless steel one years ago. It's holding up nicely. The aluminum one corroded. It lasted a long time, but stainless steel is better for this application. And all of the wood has been removed as much as I could. The sole plate and stringers are all made out of H80 Divinycell. The bolsters I recreated in half-inch expanded PVC, and all of the upholstery's been redone using getting rid of plywood and using expanded PVC as the backing. And the engine box is a combination of Blue Water 26 Kuza board for the basic shape, and then reinforced on the interior with 1 inch of H80 Divinycell. It's a little heavier than I hoped, but it's durable. The plywood engine boxes I couldn't get to survive over 10 years in this climate, no matter what I did, how well it was done and encapsulated it. The organic core would deteriorate and turn to dust in about 10 years. So that's why I went with the non-organic materials. And the boat top is made out of Sunbrella. Glen Raven Industries makes some fabulous products that are durable for the marine industry, such as Sunbrella. And they've got a new vinyl that they're telling me about too. They say is more durable than marine grade vinyl. And I need to wash this boat badly. And I hope eventually to get to the cosmetics. Redo after it's washed and everything. I hope to find an artisan that can redo the gel coat for me, or I'll do it myself. Audience, thanks for watching. We'll get on to the next segment here after I pull that connector off and run a jumper and see what happens, and then I'll talk about it on camera. January 21st, 2025. I use a test probe, light probe, because it's cheap, it's efficient, and it's almost idiot proof. You can use a DVM or power probe or whatever you want, and I like a power probe, but don't need it. For simple stuff, and this is simple stuff. In troubleshooting, you want to ask yourself, is it a problem with the boat or a problem with the item or device? The hydraulic pump here is easy to test. You unplug that 3-pin cord there and you find power using the power probe. And I've already inserted a, let's see if I can get it on the test point and light it up. Now these test lights, the cheap ones, don't want to, well, you'll just have to trust me. The cheap ones, you got to solder the spring to the bulb, because over time they lose their contact and then it's worthless. But anyway, I put a jumper in there on the power side, and on the other 2 pins is the up and the down solenoid, and I've tested it and they both work. So I've saved myself so much time. I don't have to pull this out to test it. Now this particular pump has a problem. It has 600 psi on one side and less on the other. So I've flipped the hoses for up and down to put the most powerful side, and then I changed the wiring, of course, on the on the this side of the connector, instead of messing with the connector, to put up and down. And of course you got a green wire with a white stripe for one way and blue wire with the white stripe there, and I forget which is which, and it'll be in my notes. I usually post my research at the end of the videos as a photograph for people that want to know more than my talking points. So what I found is the port on the right there is pushing fluid like crazy. The port on the left is barely doing anything. So since I have the drive stuck in the coral rock here, and I want to run the engine and put it in gear without the propeller hitting the ground to polish it, I'm going to figure out which is up and down, the white or the black, on the hydraulic line, and see what I'll move one and then the other, and then I'll bypass the boat by using that little jumper, and later on I'll troubleshoot the boat. And this technique that you see here, this is not a how-to video, this is not instructional, this is just how Dennis does it. But if I wanted to go fishing today and the wind's not blowing, but it might rain, the sun's out right now and it's warming up, if I wanted to go out for the blackfin tuna today off Homestead, I would say forget about the boat. I'll just use the jumper here to get the stern drive to go up and down until I can do a proper repair. And on my Facebook groups, people get so hung up on troubleshooting. You know, what's the best? I can't tell you the best way. This is what Dennis does. Best, worst, do-it-yourself work can result in death or injury, so do it at your own risk. This is not an instructional video. So I'm going to stop the camera for a minute and get that drive out of the ground one way or the other, and then we'll talk a little more. Dennis Sytsma, Dennis John Sytsma Productions, Homestead, Florida, January 21st, 2025. With the jumper configured as you see it there, with the power being the lower part of the red jumper and the upper being the solenoid, I believe, for the right, I got power switched off so I could demonstrate the jumper. I'll turn the power on with the switch and we'll see whether it's left or right configured like that. And it may squirt some, so I'm going to pull back a little bit. Hydraulic pump troubleshooting. Okay, she's fitting pretty good on the right side, like that. But not really putting out a lot of hydraulic fluid. It ought to really be flowing out of there if it was right. And these two hydraulic lines, the white one is up and the black one is down. And as far as how it's configured, I don't know if I have this wired per standard or not, but I'm going to move this jumper, the hot's on the right, I'm going to move this up to the other slot here. Okay, that'll bring in the other solenoid. When I fire it up, I'm going to set back because it does spit quite a bit. You could put a standard 600 psi hydraulic pressure gauge on there. Those are standard fittings. Yeah. Alright, that's the other side, and it ain't putting out nothing right now. Nope, isn't passing any fluid, so that tells me I got a problem with the hydraulics of this pump. And I've known about that for some time now, and I've changed the motor a couple years ago with a new electric. The old one I had rebuilt so many times it had actually worn the commutator in half. So let's go to the other side here. Take it off there, put it on there, turn on the power. This time battery 2. Okay, that one's making the right side spit. And I don't know which is which. up or down. It's marked on the pump if you got a flashlight out, I think. It's embossed on it. But I'm trying to get pressure on the right. But this is what you go through when you service it. Is I put it on the bench and I pull the tank off and I flush it out real good. Then I run mineral spirits through it, and that seems to do it. But you can do that here. It's just a little messier in the boat. People don't like messes in boats. They like beautifully clean boats. I'm not that big into aesthetics, never have been. I'm into function. Alright. Obviously, got a problem here. Buy a new pump, Dennis. Quit being so thrifty. Or pull it out of the boat and see what you can do with it on the workbench. But definitely have it isolated to a problem with the hydraulic pump. Next segment. Oh, before we move on, here's a test light. Yay, test light! Let's see how easy it is to use a test light. And you can buy an expensive one or a cheap one. It's up to you. I buy the best quality I can get for the buck, and then I solder it to make it better. But I got to turn the power off. Oh, it's off already. Hang on, let's go to the next segment. Okay, I want to run the engine today while the weather's nice. I'd like to pressure clean and pressure clean too while I have it before it gets cold again. We're expecting a cold front. But the cold front stalled. It was supposed to be down here by now, along with the rain that comes with it. But this is not working. The block with the 3-ton hydraulic jack is not working. And I tried getting a piece of plywood, 2x4, underneath the prop, and that ain't working either. So I gotta ferret this out. Next segment. Okay, I've tried a couple different ways to get this drive to come up so I can run the engine without the prop hitting the ground, and I believe I found it. I tried a couple different ways. I used a block of wood and a 3-ton jack, and that didn't work on the front of the drive. That didn't put the pressure on the right place. So I gave up on that and tried different lengths of pipe. That didn't work. So finally I got this Johnson bar. And a Johnson bar is a wonderful tool, and it fits right under there, and I can adjust my pressure point and get it to come up without doing any damage. Now to take a good look at a Johnson bar. An old farmer told me about this when I was very young, and he demonstrated it. And if you're digging in coral rock like I have to here in South Florida, you find out different ways to do things. And most people call this a Johnson bar or a digging bar, and you use physical force and gravity to cut away the coral rock by hand. So now that I've got this up enough, I can run the engine, and if I find I need to change the impeller, I will, if I don't see any water spitting out like I did yesterday. So, next segment. January 25th, 2025. Dennis Sytsma, Dennis John Sytsma Productions, Homestead, Florida. Change of plans. Gonna pressure clean the boat. It says it's 71 degrees, but it feels like 81. And put the boat top up. And I'm washing the boot for the boat top in the woolite, as recommended by Sunbrella. Every year or so I take the top off the frame and wash it too. But for now I'm just going to do a light pressure cleaning for now. And this Simpson 4200 4.0 GPM, I've owned this for years now, and it's been a good one. I don't know who makes the pump. I tried to look it up, but I don't know. Somebody could tell me, post a comment. The has a Honda 13 horse GX 390 engine, very stout little industrial engine, and for homeowner use it's overkill, but I like it. And we're gonna try to knock some of the dirt off this old girl. And I will be moving the boat now that I got the stern drive up a little bit. And later I'll demonstrate, once I've removed the drive, I'll demonstrate how you can run the engine on a closed cooling system like this 3.7 liter Mercruiser made from 76 to 89. How you can run it on a garden hose without the drive installed to ferret out cooling problems, or just to run the engine while the drive's being serviced. And later, when it gets dark out, I'll get the test light and we'll start to ferret out why we don't have power going to the 2 pins we need it for the hydraulic. We got power to the center pin because that's wired directly to feed the loop for the return. So that said, we'll get into that in another segment later. But for now I want to clean this up while it's warm weather and before the cold front comes in and it starts raining. I don't know if we're going to get that cold front or not. It might just have stalled and stayed, but it's beautiful today. And one of the other farmers recommended I spray. I normally don't, so I called the company and getting an estimate, because now is the time to spray for mangoes, and probably good to spray for the avocados as well, so the fruit don't get dirty, as they say. But I'll know what it costs to get the company to come out and spray, and with my asthma and bronchitis I certainly can't do it. So we'll get on to doing a quick wash on this with the pressure cleaner, and use the black tip. Don't use the high pressure tip, because you can rip up the vinyl real easy with the high pressure tip. Use that only when you have to. And before you start, I always check the oil and hook up the hose and let it get primed. It's easier to start before you put the attachment, because trying to start it with the high pressure loop closed is very miserable. You can't hardly do it, you'll break your arm. So thumbs up. This is not an instructional video, but if you like anything, find any information useful, you can give me a thumbs up. Any feedback you want to give me, post a comment. This is not the best way to do it. This is not the right way to do it. This is how Dennis does it. And try to keep an old power boat going. Biggest problem with power boats is people don't pay enough attention to them until a major holiday, and they load up the whole crew with food and drink and all that, and then find out they got a boat problem when they get to the dock, or after they leave the dock and get underway. So don't wait for 4th of July, don't wait for Memorial Day. Start as soon as you can in the spring if you're in a winter. You know, right now North Florida's got a hard freeze and even snow in Tallahassee, they say. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was in the forecast. But people leave their boats sit until they want to use them, and then they run to the marine guy or marine shop and say, fix, fast, fast. They spend all summer, they spend the whole season trying to get their boat in shape. And then they go through the same thing year after year. And these days you don't have that many marine technicians that will work on stern drives. All the younger people want to work on outboards, it seems. And a lot of the stern drive shops are going away when their owners sell or retire. But I did talk to Tom this morning at USA Power Boats, and he said he'll take this drive and do the annual service on it for me. And anyway, that's enough talking. On to the next segment. Thanks for watching. Change of plan. I'm going to have to wash this by hand because the line ruptured on me right at the end. I'll take it to a hydraulic place in Florida City and see if they can put a new fitting on it for me, because it ruptured at the end. I don't know how to fix these things, and I'm pressed for time, so I'll have to order another one online, and so I can get this done as quick. I wanted to do some pressure cleaning too and painting. So that said, Gonna have to go back to doing things by hand. Next segment. January 25th, 2025. Homestead, Florida, USA. Dennis John Sytsma Productions. This is Dennis Sytsma speaking. Working on my boat. 1989 Baretta Success 200. In the prior video, well, before I get into that, I have to say these videos are not intended to be instructional. They are not do-it-yourself videos. They are intended to be entertainment and informational. And do-it-yourself work is done at your own risk. Death or injury can result. That said, I can't get my hydraulic lift on my 3.7 liter Mercruiser, 1989 vintage 3.7 liter low 4-cylinder. Can't get it to go up. It goes down but not up from the helm. At the stern, when I unplugged the controls from the boat and used a jumper, it goes up and down, but the pressure is really anemic. So what I usually do is I take the pump out and put it on the bench and do a good flush with mineral spirits outdoors or someplace where the mineral spirits can spit without going all over. Anyway, I bought this oil pressure kit because the output of the pump is 600 psi. So we'll try to use this and see if I can measure 600 psi on the up and down, and then we'll get into the wiring on the boat. I think I've already spotted a culprit. There's pretty good corrosion on the connector. I'm going to try to use some detox and clean that up. Anyway, next segment. January 25th, 2025. Talking some more about the hydraulic pump that's not working on my 1989 Baretta Success 200. I've checked the boat wiring and it's okay. The limit switch, ram limit switch, is not giving me trouble. I'm old school, so I cut off those bullet connectors on this boat and I soldered them. Did a Western Union wrap. But as far as troubleshooting the boat side of the electrical system, let me show you that. My electrical engineering professor always taught me KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. KISS. But I think I found the problem already with visual inspection. The up pin looks badly corroded. So I'm going to spray that down real good with detox it, and maybe in the future I'll replace the connector with a new one. It's their, 1989 to now is a long service life for anything. I can't get any of the adapters to work to connect this to the hydraulic pump, so I'll have to research that some more, so we'll forego the hydraulic tests. The other thing I know is this pump is anemic, because when the pump's good it really spits out the pressure quick. So usually what I do is I clean it thoroughly, and if I can't get it to go, I'll buy a new one or take it to the shop. USA Power Boats in Cutler Bay. Ask for the manager, Tom. But let me show you how I tested the boat side of it. First off, you have to determine if you have power to the unit. So turn on your power and hang on a second while I pause the camera. On this side of it, you gotta get down to the connector, figure out which pin is hot with your test light. And I know from what I did earlier that the light lights up when I go to the bottom pin, and then the up, I think, is the one here on this side, and that's the down, up and down. So since I've determined where hot is, I will take my little jumper I fabricated to make it easier to get to, and this will be power hot. the bottom one. Now beware, this does have a fuse, so if you don't have power anywhere on those three, check the fuse or the cable or the battery itself. But I see carefully that, carefully, okay, you can't see it on camera, but I got it. I got power on that pin. So that's hot. So I don't want to make a mistake and blow things up, which I can easily do when I'm fiddling around like this. Well, what I'm going to do is, since I know where hot is on the connector, I'll match it on the other side. It's got 3 pins here, 1, 2, 3, and I've already got this connected, this to the hot. So I'll give it a little power by hooking up carefully, hooking up my power. Okay, I got power now to the system, and then I will, let's see, what am I doing here? I will, nope, I gotta pause the camera. I hooked up the wrong yellow wire. Okay, the test light is connected to ground, and I got power connected to that. What is beeping at me? Okay, so when I go over to the helm, I use a test light instead of a power probe because it's simpler. Up was working fine. I guess you can see that on camera, the light's lighting every time I hit the switch. So up's not a problem at the connector. And we will now connect this. The negative side of the test light is connected to the negative side of the battery. Power I'm getting through the positive cable through the fuse to the connector, and I've jumpered it to give it to the connector. I'm going to pause again. I should have made one black and one red instead of 2 yellows, but anyway, that's the other circuit for down. Okay, so that's how you test the boat wiring. Very simple at the connector. Everybody gets wrapped around the axle when it comes to electrical things. And I'm going to disconnect the power while I'm talking, just so I don't blow things up. Now, I want to tell you that even with a good pump, 600 psi, these seals here can jam up these rams and cause them not to, you wouldn't believe how tight they can get. So every so many years it's good to take the rams off, take them to a shop and have them serviced, or do the service yourself. I've done it in the past, and you need a vise and a lot of patience, and it's very easy to damage these rods, and they're very expensive. If you scratch them, they leak. So better to have a shop do it, or get some salvage yard ones from a boat salvage yard and experiment with other rams before you do it for real. But let's pause the camera, and I got more to talk about here. Okay, isolating the boat from the pump. I know this bottom is power, and the one here on the top of the side is up and down. I can't remember which is which. But with the lines disconnected, this thing ought to spit out fluid like crazy if it was good, and it's not. I'm gonna turn on the power for a moment, and nothing happened. So what did I do wrong? Let's go to the other side, the other solenoid. See if that one works. Yeah, that one's going, but it's not spitting out any fluid at all. So kill power again. And might be just dirty connector. Why it wouldn't work at the helm. And this pin is really, well, it doesn't look so bad in the sunlight. Anyway, I'm going to spray it with detox and turn on power again. Huh, that was weird. Worked before. Strange. Alright, let's try something else. Oh, now it started. When I touched the power switch, must have had good power for some reason. Power off. Power on. Power off. Power on. But, you know, and I got fluid in here, I think. Let me double check. Yeah, still got plenty of fluid. So, I gotta pull this pump out of the boat, put it on the bench, clean it, and see if I can't get it to work. Let's see, what else do I need to talk about here? And I can't remember, green is up or down, can't remember. But anyway, now I've shown you how to do basic checks, you know, on the boat electrical to this connector. And well, oh, now I remember. I'm going to pause the camera for a minute. I'm going to clean this real good with detox and see if we can't get it to work from the helm, the up and down, the electrical circuit. It should work because I've tested everything else. Like I say, the limit switch can go open, or the wires go bad. So you have to physically inspect those. And the ram limit sensor is on the port side, left side of the drive, and the other sensor on the right side tells you the indication of how many degrees the drive is up or down. And gonna pause the camera again while I clean this up with detox. Well, obviously I got connector problems because I've detoxed it, and I can only get, oh, up is working now. Yeah. There's up, there's down, up, down. That's odd. Anyway, this Quicksilver Commander 4000 Gen 2 with Gen 2 cables. I had that done. Doesn't want to always work on up. Something a little funky there. Either that or it's the connect. I think when it's in gear you can't do it up or down. So maybe that's it. Alright, well, I can get it to do up and down. I just haven't got any hydraulic pressure out of it. So that has got to be looked into. I got to ferret that out, figure it out, study it. And I made a pedestal here to keep this pump up off of floor level a little bit. I fabricated that myself. The stainless steel bracket I got from online sources, and occasionally there's some muck that'll develop on the pickup screen, then you won't get any pressure up or down. But anyway, with the pump out I can take a better look at it with the hydraulic, figure out what fittings I need to make this test kit work properly. So, baby steps. Don't give up just because you run into a problem. But I've now demonstrated how to test the boat side and the pump side using basic tools. Do-it-yourself work can result in death or injury. Do at your own risk. Dennis Sytsma, Homestead, Florida, USA, January 25th, 2025. Thanks for watching. January 28th, 2025, 12:30 in the afternoon. January 28th, 2025, Dennis Sytsma, Dennis John Sytsma Productions, Homestead, Florida, USA. My video productions are not intended to be instructional. They're for entertainment and information. The focus of this video segment is the hydraulic pump on my boat, which failed to go up or down, and it's repaired now. And this is probably the last segment I'm going to cover. I may do additional segments, but I think this is the last one. Next segment. I installed the pump, and mine are backwards. The up and down, the black hose and the white hose. It's backwards from normal because one of the pumps is stronger than the other, and I put one of the strongest pump on up. Down doesn't take as much pressure, and I changed the wiring. I did that some time ago, so this video is backwards from the standard baseline engineering. Putting the pump back in, I said I was going to do the screws mounting it to the pedestal last. Scratch that. Should have done that first with a number 2 screwdriver to hold it still while I was connecting everything else. Plugged it in, connected the hydraulic lines, and did the power. Now, you should work on batteries with spark-proof tools and wear a face shield in case a battery explodes on you. And the safest, at least I think it's the safest, this is just an opinion, is when you're disconnecting a battery, do the negative first. And when you're connecting a battery, do the negative last. And that's just an opinion. But the tools to put that back in was a 7/16 wrench and a 15 and 14 millimeter socket for the bolts on the batteries. Why the industry went from thumb screws to bolts that require a socket, I don't know, but that happened a few years ago. This 3.7 liter Mercruiser only requires 450 cold cranking amps, and these batteries are greater than that. I got one group 27,000 cold cranking amps and a group 24. And the way I have my boat wired is I've got a switch for battery 1, battery 2, or off. Now that I've cleaned it thoroughly and put it, had no parts replaced, just a thorough cleaning with mineral spirits on the workbench and exercising everything and cleaning the gunk out and filling it back up with power steering fluid and reinstalling it. My stern drive now goes up and down real nice. Now on the up, you want to make the adjustment on this sender on the port side. This is the sending unit here that I have my finger on. The sending unit. It goes open circuit when the ram reaches its maximum length. Now, I don't think any damage will occur if you don't have it adjusted properly, but for convenience sake, you should fiddle with that sending unit so it goes open circuit and stops the ram from extending when you've reached the full length of the ram. And these rams may need a rebuilding. Occasionally these seals harden really hard and require replacement, and some people replace the whole ram, but my experience has been the only thing you need to replace are the seals on this end. Be careful not to scratch this when working on it, and if you can, get this off and take it to a shop. And those lines you see down there, those fail internally sometimes, and that's another, you know, if your pump is putting out 600 psi up or down, then, and it's still not going up or down, then you got a problem with the lines or the rams. And the rams are not cheap, so if you can lay your hands onto some used ones, keep them, because buying replacements is expensive. But anyway, now I go to the helm and I go up or down. It goes down nicely till it hits bottom, and you can hear when it hits the ground the motor slows down, so it's all the way on the ground. And then you hit the up button at the helm, and it goes all the way up till the motor goes clunk clunk, and you hear that when it hit its, that I need to adjust that limit switch because it actually hit the physical limit of the ram, and that's not an optimum. So I hope you enjoyed this discussion for entertainment or information, not instructional, on checking out and working on this hydraulic lift that is used on many MerCruiser stern drives, and I'm sure they have something like it for other stern drives like Volvo, or I don't know how many stern drives were made over the years, but nothing wrong with the stern drive. I mean, it's good marine power if you keep them up, and keeping them up is the key. Don't let them sit. Constantly look for things to do to improve them. Change the fluids. I like to change the oil at least once a year, because this engine hits a maximum of 160 degrees, and the boiling point of water is, you know what it is, 212. And even that, with antifreeze, it'll be higher than 212. Coolant, I should say, not antifreeze. So, for that reason, if there's any water, any moisture in the oil, it never evaporates. It never steams off. It doesn't get hot enough. So it sits on the bottom of your pan and rusts out your pan. So I recommend changing the oil and filter as often as you can stand it, so you don't rust out your pan. And if you do rust out your pan, don't replace it with an OEM pan. Have one fabricated by your local machine shop, and specify the materials. This is a steel pan from OEM, and that's all I've used since it was new in 1989. But if I had to replace the pan again, I would have it made out of heavy gauge aluminum to my specs, by a really good racing machine shop that makes oil pans all the time, like Sef's Racing, STEF, yeah, Steff's Racing. And there's plenty of marine machine shops that you can approach in your area, wherever you are in the world. Take them the old steel pans, say, hey, can you fabricate a new one of these for me in whatever material you want, aluminum or stainless steel. I would not go back with just plain steel. And because the block is aluminum on this 3.7, I'd go with aluminum so you don't have dissimilar metals. And I should have done, when I did the fuel tank replacement on this a couple of years ago, I should have gone with stainless steel instead of aluminum. But, you know, I was pinching pennies when I should have been thinking long term. So, January 29th, 2025, it's a Wednesday morning, January 29th, 2025. Subject of this video segment is fuel delivery problems. 1989 Baretta Success 200 powerboat. My late father bought this boat new in 1989, and I inherited it over later when it was in disrepair, and I've renovated it to the point where it doesn't have any wood in it anymore. It has 1-inch H80 Divinicel stringers and sole plate. An engine box is made out of Blue Water 26 Kusa board, and have expanded PVC for the bolsters and expanded PVC for all of the vinyl and seats and what have you. So no wood in the boat anymore, except for just a little bit of teak here and there, or things that I haven't had to replace yet, like the transom. This Baretta boat, I really like it. It was made in Conway, Arkansas. But the number one thing I see posts about power boats and power boating is fuel delivery problems that surface when you apply power. And it'll idle okay, and start, but when you apply power, you start getting backfires through the carburetor, which is called lean pop, indicative of fuel starvation. Now, yes, you can have 6 psi at the carburetor, but when you put the throttle to it, that pressure may drop and you don't see it, and the volume may not be ample. And power comes from fuel, so if you don't have volume, and this is not intended to be an instructional video. This is just information for fellow enthusiasts and hobbyists, and information in the form of entertainment. Do-it-yourself work can result in death or injury. I'm not responsible in any way. If you do-it-yourself work, you do it at your own risk. I'm just sharing information on what the professionals can do, and you can take it to a shop and they'll sort it out for you. But anyway, ample volume, lack of ample volume can be caused by a anti-siphon valve, or a problem with the fuel tank, or the fuel pickup tube that may have pinholes in it after years of use. And it's like trying to suck through a straw that has holes in it. Soda, you may get some soda, but you don't have the volume, depending on the number of holes in the straw. And people run out and have the fuel pump replaced. And most often what happens is people will winterize their boat in northern climates. Here in southeast Florida, Homestead, USA, I don't need to winterize this 3.7 liter Mercruiser, but I do suck all the fuel out of it and use it on the farm equipment or in the van or my vehicles, because I like to keep the freshest fuel in my power boat, because you don't want to load this thing up with ice and fishing gear and bait and friends, and then hit the throttle and have it go, So, very embarrassing. And idling 10 miles out offshore is not fun. So, that said, let's check the fuel delivery system. And if you can't suck fuel with a turkey baster or a horse oral, you can't suck from the fuel tank on the intake side of the 10 micron water separating fuel filter, you got a problem either with the fuel tank, the pickup tube, or the anti-siphon valve. And the anti-siphon valve is not all that difficult to replace, and those can become either partially or fully obstructed, and they're a necessary safety feature to prevent explosion or fire. But before you try to pump all the fuel out of your boat and replace it with fresh fuel like I do, fuel only lasts about 6 months before it starts to break down. Most gasolines can be in a fuel tank for 6 months and then it starts to deteriorate. So put your boat away from other boats, other vehicles, other buildings in case you have a fire. Have a fire extinguisher handy, and have a garden hose handy, and have a fuel transfer pump, rated, ignition proof, rated fuel pump for gasoline. And this one is a good one in that it's well designed and well built, as opposed to this one that isn't. This one, if you have any stress at all on the output side, she comes apart and you start shooting gas all over the place. Now what engineer did that, I'm not sure, because they threaded this side on the suction side, but they didn't thread it on the output side. Instead they just knurled it. So since my application is not critical, I'll use a little JB Weld and see if I can fix that. But this fuel pump seems to be better. And give me a moment while I walk around the boat and get inside and show you how I connect it to the water separating fuel filter 10 micron, which any watercraft, good idea to, if you don't have one, install one or have it done professionally. Now the way I'm going to power this is I could run leads to the batteries, if, you know, maybe 4-foot leads rated for the current needed. And this pump, I should have insulated terminals on here so I don't get a spark, and I should have this fused, but need the fuel right away for my lawnmower that I hope to fix. Anyway, this is a 10 micron filter, and you can't see it on the video, but it's marked in and out. This is the in, and at this point, if you remove this, you should be able to freely suck fuel with a turkey baster or a oral horse medication. Anyway, this is the output side, and I always, when I'm pulling fuel out of the boat, I pull that hose loose and I connect this one carefully, if it'll let me do it. Get away from me, Satan. Satan's always fighting with me, trying to make my job harder. Get away from me, Satan. Alright, so we connect here to the output. So this is sucking fuel from the gas tank through the anti-siphon valve with a short hose going to the filter, and this is the output of the filter. And once I have this established, I can apply power, and making sure that my power is away from any fumes or any spark might occur is away from where I'm sucking fuel from. And I got to make sure that this hose is in the containers, and it's not. So give me a moment, please, audience. Give me a thumbs up if anything is interesting in this video. I really appreciate comments and thumbs up. And you can subscribe or drop out anytime you like. And I have playlists for the multiple subjects, including travel and local events and what have you. Now, I was doing this last night before I set up this video, and there's the horse medication thing. And I use this also for testing cylinders. When I have a problem with an engine, internal combustion engine, I shoot some Marvel Mystery Oil into each cylinder, 15 or 30 cc's. But anyway, to hook this up to the fuel tank, and I have several of them here, I put it like that, and then we connect the battery, and I'm using a garden tractor battery. I always keep one of these around on the farm because they're handy. And we connect it to power, and immediately the fuel pump starts doing its thing, and it starts pumping fuel. And if you have a problem with volume, it'll probably show up right here. You'll have all kinds of air bubbles instead of fuel. But you see, you're getting good volume there every time the solenoid fuel pump pumps. So anyway, we'll let this do its job until my fuel tank in the boat is completely empty, and then I'll haul this to the gas station and fill it up with fresh gas. I use non-ethanol gas. This engine will tolerate just about any octane fuel. It's 3.7 liter Mercruiser MCM 470, and I had it rebuilt by a machine shop here in Miami a few years ago, and I had to have them do it twice because it had rod knock after the rebuild. But anyway, second time was the charm. Of course, I had to do all the installation and, you know, all that work to take it in and out, take it to the machine shop. So I only use non-ethanol fuel because ethanol absorbs moisture, and I try to keep the gas tank full on the boat. Number one, if we have a hurricane, I can use the fuel for the generator, And number two, there's less condensation. The experts tell me, that nameless, faceless experts tell me, that ethanol absorbs moisture, so don't use ethanol gas in a marine application, and don't let your fuel tank sit at a quarter tank or half a tank. Have it filled to the brim, because with the heating and cooling of the sun every day, unless you have it stored inside, you'll get condensation in the fuel tank. So that said, I've got some other work to do around the tropical fruit grove. I pick, God grows them, I pick them, avocados and lychees and black sapote and mangoes and carambola, which people call starfruit, and I sell those to Bricks Tropicals online, or to miamifruit.org. miamifruit.org. Very nice people. Bricks is a huge corporation, and we have diminishing farmland here in South Florida due to Miami urban sprawl, and there's been a lot of pressure to move the urban development boundary line to consume more farmland, and the mayor we have right now is resisting that, and should, because she says she's an environmentalist, but once the farmland's gone, urban development will be right up to the boundaries of Everglades National Park and other protected areas. And the agriculture, we always get beat up for what we do to grow the best agricultural products in the world. And there's some fish farms around here too, in Redland farm area. And it's northwest of Homestead, Florida. So protect the Redland, write a letter, attend a meeting, and talk about urban sprawl consuming Florida agriculture and Florida sustainable agriculture. And people say, well, you could sell your land and have money, and that's cool. Money's good, but farmland, once it's gone, it's gone. It's a bank you can only withdraw out of. Anyway, enough about the agricultural rant, and we'll keep an eye on how much gas is going to eat till it's sucked dry. Then once the boat's dry of fuel, I can take it somewhere and get it filled back up, and use this fuel for cutting the grass and running the pressure washer and running an engine generator if we have a hurricane. So people, thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up, please, if there's anything of good information. These videos are not how-to. I don't assume any risk. You do anything and you burn up your boat or you blow up yourself, do it at your own risk, or have a professional. Professionals actually carry a fuel tank with them, similar to this rig that you see me fabricating, that I don't recommend anybody else do this. You could have one fabricated for you by a marine professional, and they carry one with, and they hook it right up to the engine quick. They bypass the whole fuel delivery and say, you got a problem with the engine or you got a problem with the boat. Normally, a lot of these problems are not the engine, it's the boat. Although it could be contamination in the fuel and you have to rebuild the carburetor, or if it's got fuel injection, that's a whole different thing to worry about. So I respect the pros. I've learned a lot from them. They work hard for their money. Thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up, please. You can subscribe or unsubscribe. Dennis Sytsma, Dennis John Sytsma Productions, Homestead, Florida. I appreciate comments and thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Hello, this is Dennis Sytsma, Dennis John Sytsma Productions, Homestead, Florida, USA. The focus of this video segment for this video documentary is my project boat, 1989 Baretta Success 200. The number one issue reported and complained about most often in power boats is problems they don't recognize are really fuel starvation problems. You don't get the volume of fuel that your engine needs. And fuel starvation most often is noticed with a backfire through the carburetor. They call that a lean pop. Or you put on the power if you got fuel injection and instead of going faster, the engine bogs or kills. So you need to determine, is it a problem with the fuel delivery system or a problem with the boat? Or the other way around. Is it a problem with the fuel delivery system in the boat? It's a boat problem. Or do you have an engine problem? A professional marine technician, and I'm not one, I'm just an enthusiast, do-it-yourself work can result in death or injury. Explosion or fire can result death or injury. Do at your own risk. Hire a professional shop. They know safety procedures. It's beyond the scope of this video to tell you those. But the number one problem is either you may have fuel pressure, but you don't have volume. And there's a big difference. Volume is like you take a sip and you're still thirsty. Volume would be the big gulp. So anyway, 2013 I replaced the fuel tank in this because I noticed when I don't like leaving stale fuel in my boat, so I have a 10 micron water separating fuel filter, and I use a rig like this to pump out the fuel. And this is an ignition proof gasoline fuel transfer pump that you can buy online or just about anywhere, but get a quality one. Don't buy the cheapest one. But in the prior video segment I showed you how I pump the gas out of the boat through the fuel system, and that way I know my fuel delivery system has ample volume, and I know the quality of the gas because I pump out the stale gas and use it for vehicles or my riding lawn tractor or other farm equipment where it's easier to discern the quality of the gas. Don't leave stale gas in the boat. I know it's a pain, and you can have it done professionally. Ask your local marine shop or marine technician about getting the old fuel out and putting new fuel in, and what the costs involved are to keep fresh gas in your boat. The other thing is run the engine on it as often as you can, because you lubricate it and you look for problems every time you run the engine. During out-of-season storage, put your batteries in a safe, secure, climate-controlled facility so they're not stolen. And number two, batteries are expensive now, so you want it in climate control, and put a battery maintainer on it in a secure place for out of season. Now I'm in southeast Florida, Homestead, Florida, south of Miami, north of Key Largo, so we don't have winterization here, but stale fuel is a problem. So I pump the old fuel out. I use a setup like this, and this is not exactly safe. I need to do better on my wiring. When I see, next time I go to West Marine, I'll buy some red and black wiring to get the power source further away from the pump. But anyway, have a 5-pound extinguisher handy, rated for the proper thing, and get the boat away from any buildings or vessels or anything valuable. So if you have explosion or fire, or your technician does, you don't damage something besides you put it to the minimum is what I'm trying to say, de minimis problems. Now I had a problem with this boat, and I still do, because what fails in this is either the pickup tube gets pinholes in it, and it's like trying to suck diet soda through a straw with holes in it, and you can't. And the way you find out is you use something that can suck like a turkey baster, a household turkey baster. See if you can suck fuel from your fuel tank before the siphon valve. After the siphon valve, you can try that too, and find out if the siphon valve is either fully or partially obstructed. And it's not that hard to replace a siphon valve, depending on access on the boat. And again, death or injury can result. Do-yourself work is done at your own risk. pickup tube can be bad. In this boat, the gas tank was good, but I tried to change the pickup tube myself, and I botched it. I'd never done it before, and I ended up having to replace the whole tank. I had a new tank made for me by Sunshine Marine in Mentor, Florida. Really nice company. They made it to my specs. I should have gone with stainless steel, but I was being a cheapskate, so I went with aluminum. The original tank was really good material, but like I say, once I messed up the pickup tube, I couldn't correct my mistake, so I had to replace the tank. Besides the pickup tube and the anti-siphon valve, your hoses can be collapsed internally. Now, I put new hoses in here for both the fill and the vent, because you have a vent hose that goes from let's see, what's the helm towards the front of the boat. The bow of the boat is where the pickup for the vent is, and I had to run a new hose from there back to the vent thing on the back here, because for some reason, I guess the two-part foam must have expanded and squeezed it. Even with a pressure washer, I couldn't get I couldn't get anything through the vent tube. So I put a new one in and I rerouted it. I didn't run it under the floor. I ran it through the engine compartment, direct shot. So this is my vent line there that I'm using to fill gas with, because apparently now the main tube for filling the tank is obstructed. So to replace that, I'm going to have to get my sander out and sand away where I want to cut. And I want to take away this section of the deck to expose the lines, which that access port there, I put there purposely. That's where it goes to the tank. So I could inspect it and maintain it and keep the ground from corroding, to make sure the tank is grounded, because it's a metal tank. Sparks or explosion is really dangerous, so you want to stay on top of those, or you want to have your shop stay on top of it. So anyway, I'm going to have to take the floor up and replace the line. This time I think I'm going to put it in PVC using plumber's sweeps, so I can easily replace the line without having to take up the deck. And of course, when I'm done, I'll reglass the deck. And I need to redo the gel coat here anyway. It's been a few years, probably 5 or 7 years since I did anything with the gel coat. And everything else in the boat I did as best I could for low maintenance, using expanded PVC everywhere, and Kusa board and H80 Divinicel cores for new work. And I like Kusa board a lot. It's kind of like plywood, and I get that from Boat Outfitters or Merit Supply. So give me a thumbs up if anything good here. I'm having to fill this through the vent tube, and even that backed up on me with this pump. It was spitting back, so I had to open this up and let it vent through the fill tube. Now, why this happened, I'm not sure. I won't know till I get the floor up, or I should say the sole plate or the deck, and that's going to take some work for me to do that. So people, thanks for watching. The thumbs up if anything here is interesting. You can subscribe or unsubscribe at any time if you like. It's up to you. I have about 280. Hello, my name's Dennis Sytsma. Dennis John Sytsma Productions, Homestead, Florida. Do-it-yourself work can result in death or injury, so do at your own risk. This is my homebrew thing, and you notice I'm using splice there instead of butt connector. Don't like butt connectors. I prefer a Western Union splice, which old school electricians will know, just wrapping 2 wires together firmly is a Western Union splice. I prefer to use marine grade wire and to solder my connections, and then go over it with this LET liquid electrical tape. Let that dry, and then use number 33 3M electrical insulation tape. And I put a fuse holder in there Right now I got a 10 amp fuse, but I'll probably change that to 5 amp because I don't know what the draw is on this pump. But my battery went dead, the garden battery, so I'm using this power station made by Schumacher Electric. And I have one of these power stations in every one of my vehicles, and I keep them with new batteries and I test them all the time. This is model number Sierra Juliet 1332. Sierra Juliet 1332. Power station's really handy. I'm waiting for the soldering iron to heat up, and then I'll solder everything. Eventually I'll put some clips at the end here for positive and negative, make it look a little bit more presentable to anybody looking at my videos. Do-it-yourself work can be risky. Explosion, fire, keep fire bottle handy, do at your own risk. This problem I have with this boat, my main fill tube is somehow obstructed under the floor, so I'm using the vent tube to fill the tank. So I don't like to leave the tank empty in case we have a hurricane or plus condensation issues, and I like to keep fresh gas in the boat. So I pumped all the old gas out. I'll use that on my lawnmower or whatever, and I'm putting fresh gas in. And when I get a chance, I'll sand away the gel coat and then cut the floor to access this starboard rear quarter, starboard stern side, and pull up the sole plate or the deck and get to those hoses and hopefully install new ones. And I don't know why they failed. I'm assuming the expanding foam has done something to the hoses, squeezed them tight somehow. I don't know. I put all new expanding foam under this sole plate the last time I had it up to replace the fuel tank in 2013. And it's 2025 now. I think it's a Monday. It might be the 11th of February 2025. It might be the 10th or the 12th, I'm not sure, but anyway, it's Monday. And this is an addendum to my other stuff. I got the tank about half full now, and ordinarily I'd pull this to the gas station, except for this problem. You know, you just can't pump gas into it, which is a fuel delivery problem with the boat, not with the engine. So stuff like this happens, and then you pay one shop to fix it, and they go, oh no, and then you take it to another shop, and eventually you get somebody that'll fix it for you after 3 shops. And I just wrote another email talking about vocational skills in Florida and the need for them to be more accessible, hence more affordable. Thanks for watching. On the 1989 Baretta Boat project, February 10th, 2025, I decided to put these Schumacher clamps on the end, make it a little more presentable. I had about 6 feet of marine grade wire and a 10 amp fuse that I'm going to change to 5 amp, I think, and make this rig homebrew thing look a little more presentable. And I'm using this as a power source, this Schumacher power station. And I've helped a lot of motors that couldn't get their vehicle started. This is a SJ1332. It's sold at most home centers like Lowe's and online and what have you. It's really handy because it has USB ports, or the newer one does. That one does too. It has one USB port. Newer ones have more than one. And it has AC and DC. It's got an inverter. It's got an air pump. This is a real good thing to have if you're assisting another motorist and you don't want to risk your electrical system. But anyway, I've soldered the connections, and then I put a coat of liquid electrical tape on it, and then I wrapped it up with the Scotch Super 33 insulation. And these are the tools I used, the soldering iron and the tape and solder, and to tighten this hose up where it wouldn't leak, I used an 8mm socket. And I'm out of gas, so I gotta go get some more. Thumbs up if anything interesting in this video. You can subscribe or drop out at any time. Do-it-yourself work can be dangerous. Death or injury can result, and especially fire. So have a fire bottle ready. Move it away from other vehicles and buildings and anything of value before you attempt anything. Do-it-yourself work is done at your own risk. Dennis Sytsma, Dennis John Sytsma Productions, Homestead, Florida, USA. Subscribers right now, and I need 4,000 before YouTube will monetize me, so that's a long years away from ever reaching that subscriber level. So, people, thanks for watching. Dennis Sytsma, Dennis John Sytsma Productions, Homestead, Florida. Happy boating. Happy boating is safe boating. Safety is #1. Thanks for watching. Dennis Sytsma, Dennis John Sytsma Productions. Do-it-yourself work can result in death or injury, so do at your own risk. And this is not an instructional video. It's information and entertainment.